Hi, my name is Ethan Lanning, and I'm an employee at Leaders RPM. I am a factory trained and certified technician on these Can-Am Spyders. Today we're going to be changing the oil on this 23 Can-Am RT, so let's get to it. So this is the oil change kit we're going to be using today. It is part number 9779484. Comes with all the things that you're going to need to change the oil, your filter, all your oil, your gaskets for your drain plugs, and the new gasket for your oil filter housing cap. So these are the tools that you're going to need to get the job done. You're going to want a nice suitable oil catch pan. You're going to need a T45 Torx bit, a 6mm hex drive, a 36mm socket for the oil filter housing, a ratchet extension, and probably some rags and probably some gloves because it's going to get a little oily. So we're going to start with draining the main oil gallery chamber, which basically the oil pan on one of these. There's actually two drain plugs. One we're going to start with the T45, and then the other one will go to the other side and we'll show you will be 6mm hex drive, which will drain your transmission chamber for your high pressure oil for the trans. So let's start with this one and get this one drained. About midsection, there's nothing to take off. It'll just be right there and a little cutout underneath the skid plate, and you'll see it. Get that a little looser. And this one will have a couple O-rings on that too, but those will come in the kit as well. And we'll let that drain out for a little bit. Set that aside, so we'll replace all the seals on that when that's done draining. And then we'll move to the other side after we put that back in. It's a little bit of some residual coming out. This has got the new O-rings and seals all from the kit on it. We'll get that put back in there. Now it doesn't have to be super tight. You'll kind of feel that crush washer and you'll just give it a nice little couple little turns, a couple little quarter turns there, and then that'll be tight. And kind of clean up any residual as best as possible so it's not dripping. And then we'll move over to the other side and drain that one. So this side will be your hex drive side, and it'll be just behind where your brake pedal is, about midway in. And this will drain your transmission compartment. That holds about another quart of oil. So you want to make sure you get both of these drained out to get all the oil out. Also make sure that your gasket washer comes off, because you never want to double a gasket. It will cause a potential leak. Well, mine's probably stuck up on here, which it was. We'll discard that. And we'll let that drain, and we'll grab our new gasket and clean this drain plug up, and we'll get that put back in there. Get this put back in. First, we're going to want to probably move this a little bit. A rag don't get in, but wipe up clean. We want to get that surface clean too for that new seal. And we got our new gasket on there, and we'll stick that back in there. Now that's snug with our fingers. We'll grab our ratchet. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be really, really tight, but you want to get a good, nice snug on it. And just give it a couple good twists of a hand, and that's all she needs. And then we'll move on to the oil filter. All right, so now we're gonna move to the oil filter and get to the oil filter housing so we can swap the oil filter. We're gonna lift the seat up, and right here it says pull. So we're gonna lightly start pulling on this, not too hard, and we don't wanna break any of these tabs. And we're gonna take this and set this aside. Now we gotta get the brake fluid reservoir out of the way. And there's a little silver tab tang about right behind it. We're gonna lift up and pull out on that. And that will be this piece. We're gonna take that and set that aside. We'll get down here and we'll lift up, undo this one sensor wire, and just kind of slide to the side. That way we get right to the oil filter. Let me grab my tool. This will be that 36mm we were talking about earlier with about a 3-inch extension. And we'll get that in there and we'll turn that cap loose. Now that that's loose, we're gonna slowly open that by hand where the seal just breaks the housing, and let that kind of drain for a second so we don't get a whole bunch of oil all in there, and let that housing just kind of drain a little bit back in. Usually I like to take a rag and try to get down around that housing a little bit just to try to catch any oil and keep it off of things. That's the key. We'll get the cap out of the way, which we'll put new seals on that come in the kit. We'll pull the old oil filter out. I just kind of stick my finger in the hole of and pull up on it, and we get it out. And there's really no wrong orientation when we put the new one in, but usually I always like to see the numbers of the part numbers on top when I put it back in. Now we'll change the seals. So we got our new oil filter, we put our new seals that came in the kit on our cap, and we're gonna stick this back in first. Just make sure that you got all the oil kind of waped up, any of that. We also want to make sure that we take any kind of little oil and just re-lube this seal a little bit so it's not dry going in. And we're going to stick our oil filter in, like I said, with the numbers up. And it'll just kind of sit back in there, you'll feel it. And we'll take our cap and we'll slide that back in. And we'll start that by hand until we can't turn it quite anymore, and then we'll grab our tool and we'll start tightening up. And now this doesn't have to be near even as tight as what we put our drain plugs in. We'll just get it to where it starts to snug, and you'll feel it kind of stop, and then you just give it a quick little quarter turn, and that's tight enough for that plastic cap. It won't come loose. Now we're going to put our brake fluid reservoir back in. And that just kind of, if you look behind it, it's got just little grooves that it kind of slides in, only one way. And we'll slide that down, locking that back into place. And put our sensor wire back in its little groove hanger, which might take you a couple little tries, but you'll get it. Once that's back in, we can now grab that little clip that locks this from coming back up. And that will slide just behind the little mounting bracket you'll see back there. Just pay attention when you take it out so you can kind of see where it goes back in, probably the best. Now that that's like that, we're gonna get our funnel and we're gonna put the oil in it. And then we can put this panel back on. All right, so now we're gonna fill it. Get yourself a suitable funnel that's gonna work for you. This one might be a little tall, but I always make it work. And just hold the seat up a little bit and now we'll fill it up. We'll start with putting 3 quarts to 4 quarts in. Check and see if it's not too full, way over past the fill mark on the dipstick. If it is, we'll start it quick and then recheck it. And that will help to fill the oil filter, and then that way you can get the correct amount in with the oil filter primed. There goes quart number 3. Put one more in and then we'll check it just to make sure it's not super overfilled in that chamber. That way we can move it to the next chambers if we need to by starting it, and then for a couple seconds and then restarting. We start with a fresh, non-oily dipstick to get the correct oil level. Twist it in, I'm gonna pull it back out. And as we can see, it's way over right now on those few quarts, so we're gonna start it and get it moving to the oil filter housing and into the transmission housing as well. And then we'll top off after that. So now that we started it and got the oil flowing into the other chambers for a second, we shut it back off. We're gonna recheck the oil level and make sure that we can top it off to the correct amount and don't overfill or underfill it. So let's check the oil. We're gonna wipe it off first because it was running, and then always will splash up and give you a false reading, and then we'll stick it back in, twist, unlock, pull up straight, and we'll check it, in which now I'm probably about 1.5 quarts low, which we'll probably put the rest of this in here now, and it should put you at the correct amount. Usually the kits always come with the exact right amount, but you always just don't want to overfill that first chamber and start it for a second quick so that you can then top it back off. We're going to stick it back in after we put those last 2 quarts in. We're going to twist and lock, unlock, pull straight up. And then we're going to look at it, and it's all the way to the top of the max. So it's got the correct oil in it. Now we can put that back in, and with all that together, we can come over here and grab our side panel that we took off. And it's got these 5 clips in it.
Hold on, do you mind saying that one more time?
So we're going to grab our side panel here that we took off earlier. It's got 5 of these little quick clips in it. They all have their spots, so just take it Take the first one and line it up with that hole, and then that hole, and then we're just gonna push it back into place. And that's all there is to changing the oil on a 23 Can-Am Spyder. So now we have shown you how to change the oil on a 23 Can-Am Spyder. So now we have shown you here at Liters RPM how to change the oil on a 23 Can-Am Spyder. Kind of goes for a couple years, but just make sure you get the right oil change kit for the right year. Check the link in the description, and that will be the oil change kit for this 23.